Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a film called Nanny Cam. The movie begins with a couple, Linda and Mark. They are saying goodbye to their daughter Chloe as they leave for the evening. They then thank their friend Barbara for babysitting Chloe while they are gone. The couple then go for a nice dinner. Mark keeps complaining because Linda keeps checking her phone, as work keeps texting her. Meanwhile at home, Barbara is having some memory losses. Chloe decides to help her make a soup, and by doing so she gets burnt. The couple then receive the unfortunate call and rush home, where they find ambulance with Chloe. The ambulance workers announce them that Barbara needs to go to the hospital, she needs help, she has dementia. Linda goes to talk to Barbara, she is sorry and wants to take care of Chloe again, but Linda let her know she can't be taking care of her daughter anymore. Later that night, the couple is trying to find a solution. Linda tells Mark they have no choice, then find a babysitter. The next day, Mark brings Chloe to work with him as he is renovating his next house to sell. While playing, she meets a young girl by the name of Heather. Heather informs Mark that Chloe was playing with a dangerous tool, and both get to know each other. Hours later, Linda comes back home to hear noises. She finds Mark having fun with Heather and Linda. Mark announces that Heather is looking for a babysitter job. But Linda worries that they don't know who is that girl. So Mark suggests, then let's get to know her. They then interview her and Heather assures them she will be perfect for the job. Later that night, Chloe begs her mom to have Heather as her babysitter. So Linda calls Heather's reference and the previous woman says she was great. But Linda is still worried, so she gets the idea to get surveillance cameras for the house, so she is at peace. She immediately calls Heather to start working the next day. The next day then arrives and Heather is supposed to pick up Chloe from school. While waiting, a boy calls Chloe ugly. Heather then shows up mad at him, terrorizing the poor boy who runs away. That same night, Linda goes to the electronics store to buy the cameras. She chooses the fake alarm clock with the hidden camera. The following day, she is at work and at peace as she watches Heather taking care of Chloe. Days later, Barbara drives by and sees Chloe playing with Heather. As soon as Heather walks in, Barbara comes to talk to the little girl, but when Heather comes back, she gets mad at Barbara. She insults her, saying the parents hates you for what you did to their child. She even calls her the B word. At this moment, Linda arrives and wonders what just happened. Heather lies, saying Barbara just came screaming at her that she stole her child, playing the victim. And Linda comforts her, telling her she is so great and invites her for dinner with them. During the dinner, the house phone rings and Heather decides to pick up. It's Barbara, she is crying and she is so sorry for what happened. But Heather pretends to be Linda and tells her, "My family will be better if you just hurry up and die." She then lies to the couple it was just someone trying to sell something. Linda worries for Barbara and wants to call her the next day. Moments later, Barbara is in her house when she hears a weird noise and then sees someone. The next day, the police calls Linda to announce her that Barbara is dead. They believe the cause of herself. This really shakes the poor Linda, as well as Chloe. Heather comforts her, saying that committing suicide is common among dementia's patients. But Linda realizes she never told her Barbara committed suicide. She starts to have her suspicions and shares them with Mark. The next day, they get home and are impressed. Heather cleaned the whole house. She then finds Heather sleeping with Chloe. Linda tells her, "We hired you to watch over Chloe, not to clean the whole house." Heather gets a little offended by it, while Mark thinks she may be too harsh. But Linda is feeling some off. Inside she is feeling a little bit threatening, because Heather is slowly taking over the mom's duties. The next day, Linda makes eggs to Chloe, who doesn't like it because that's not how Heather cooks them. Linda wants to try to make it like her, but Chloe tells her Heather will be here soon, that she cooks better. This really hits in feels for Linda. Heather then arrives. Linda asks her what did they speak about for 3 hours yesterday, and Heather realizes there must be a camera in the house. So she goes to check and finds the hidden camera. Meanwhile, Mark is trying to show his house to new potential buyers, but the chandeliers explode, scaring them away. He tells the bad news to his wife, but Linda seems to be too busy with work to listen to him. Moments later, Mark gets home. Heather realizes he had a rough day, so she tries to comfort him. She comes closer to kiss him, but he stops her. He tells her it's time for her to go. She then asks him, "Do you ever watch me through the hidden camera?" When she leaves, he checks the camera and realizes she was stripping to it. That same night, Linda checks the cameras as usual, but before Heather strips, the file stops. Is Mark deleting them and keeps watching Heather in secret all those days? So Linda installs other cameras and doesn't even tell it to Mark. Days later, it's Chloe's school talent show. Linda hurries home. Heather calls 911 and Linda comes home getting stopped by the police. They say they received a call that a woman matching her description kidnapped a child. So they take her to the station to clear it, and as expected she misses her daughter's talent show. When she gets home, Chloe is mad at her. Linda had enough and confronts Heather about her lies of being from this town. Heather is in tears and runs away. Moments later, Linda announces to Chloe that Heather may not be coming back, but her daughter really wants Chloe to stay. Minutes later, Linda realizes the camera folder is empty and Mark tells her he is getting rid of the camera, that it's not right to spy on people like that. Linda is in disbelief that Mark defends Heather. He tells her Heather was there when Linda was supposed to be there as a mother. Linda realizes he may be having a crush on Heather and both argue. Meanwhile, Heather is spying on them with her own hidden cameras. We are shown that she is living in the attic of the house Mark is trying to sell. The next day, Linda spies on Heather and hears a name of her father, Jake. She makes researches and goes to the house. She realizes it's Heather's parents. The mom takes her aside and tells her to keep her away from her husband, because the husband was abusing her. Meanwhile, Mark gets dizzy after a drink Heather gave him. The next day, Linda feels bad for Heather and wants to keep her, but Mark wants to fire her this time. So as soon as Heather comes, Linda announces to her that she is fired and that she should tell the cops about her father. The next day, Linda is making her presentation to the new client of the company. The video presentation switches and we are shown Heather making love to Mark. Everyone is outraged. Linda immediately goes home to confront Mark. She realizes from the beginning she targeted their family. She wants Chloe. So she hurries to her room and Chloe isn't there. So they call the police. The police informs them that those parents were her foster parents. Heather was abandoned at her birth. Linda then checks the footage of Chloe's room. Heather was under the bed and took her. Before leaving, she leaves a message: "If you want to see your daughter again, meet me at your husband's construction site." She hurries there and we learn that Linda is the woman who abandoned Heather at the hospital 18 years ago. She is sorry as she was young and couldn't take care of her. Heather confronts her saying she had no idea what that foster father did to her. She takes Chloe hostage. Linda then reveals she did track her daughter and she passed, so Heather is mistaken. Both women fight and Mark arrives to join the fight. Linda then pushes Heather through the window. But we are shown she isn't laying on the grass anymore. Years later, we are shown a blonde woman on a bus. It's Heather. She has a baby in her hands and tells a passenger the baby name is Mark. She named it after his father. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other movie summaries we have on our channel.